Hello everyone, Warner Beck here. In today's video, we will be talking about my updated PvE guide for Shadow Chaser. This includes the release of Freya Patch and Nightmare Temple Season 4. If you're watching from Islude 3 LNA, I'll also be giving away 2 mounts. Stay tuned and watch the entire video to know how to win. A lot has happened and it took me a while to make another video. A few of my friends stopped playing the game and I took over my best bud's account. He used to be a warlock since the beginning, so all of his gears were for magic attack, but I was able to convert his account into physical and now a shadow chaser. Before we get started, I want to give a shout out to our guild legion. I also want to greet our guild leader. Happy birthday, Freggy. Anyway, let's get started. I will not be talking about the skills, Virus Core, Enchants, Nebula Path, Nexus, and card deck, since these are still the same with my previous video. If you haven't watched my first Shadow Chaser PvE guide, I'll put a link in the description. First, we will talk about my stats. We have unlocked higher levels, so I have allocated more luck stats since it gives more base physical attack. For PvE, go with physical attack instead of P damage. We already have a really high P damage as Shadow Chasers, and P damage is a modifier to your base physical attack versus enemies' P damage reduction, and at some point it diminishes depending on which content you're trying to clear. This means Gefjon is better than Ymir for your illusion card deck. I have also increased my crit damage. I have noticed that crit damage is the best damage amplifier for Shadow Chaser, so try to get this over 100%. My global cooldown is now at 42.5%. The ideal GCD even with a Maestro is only at 40%. Getting higher global cooldown after 40% did not give me any more DPS. Next, we're going to talk about my equipment. Even if you do not have a red Season 4 equipment yet, still use the yellow because of the new equipment set and higher base and substats. For my headgear, I still use Bunny Sheriff since I cannot find anything better to use for now. For my facewear, I use Cerulean Gem since it gives crit damage along with the global cooldown. You can still use Lucky Clover or Diamond Veil. For my mouthwear, I use Magic Thread since it gives 18% skill damage and damage versus size, plus global cooldown. For backwear, Tome of Snow is still the best since it amplifies your final damage. I do not have Tome of Snow, so I'm using Campus Backpack for the extra GCD and physical attack. For my costume, I still use Bunny Sheriff. I still can't find anything better to use, and that skill damage is so good. For Divine Armaments, I still use Obsidian for weapon. For the armor set, I use Sprint set, but if we have a Maestro or Wanderer in the party, I use Tears Bless instead. I tested with Charleston and Intimidated set, but Tears Bless gave me the most damage. Both Charleston and Intimidated set give stats that diminishes the more you have it. I already have 6,750 PVE damage, so increasing my base physical attack gave me the most damage. You can also test it yourself, just bring a Maestro with you and use both Tears and Intimidated set. Without Maestro, you'll have inconsistent results because Intimidated gives global cooldown while Tears do not. For my Radiant Ornament, I'm still trying to fix the implant stats but try to get crit damage, ignore P-Def, physical attack, P damage, and P damage reduction. Also go for PvP damage and PP ward if you want to use this for PvP. For the Divine Bliss stat, go with Battle Rage, Deadly, or Sword Shield. For the build, I use both Chaos on PvE. Next are my Sigils. I use Impale T2, Soulmark, Starfall, and Berserk. One thing I regret is I didn't know that Choice of Fate is the best sigil for PvE. This gives 25% increased damage, and this damage increase is a final damage modifier, meaning whatever your total damage is, it is multiplied to this. So for example, if your DPS is 4 billion, with Choice of Fate you can now deal 5 billion, which is crazy. Anyway, get Choice of Fate maxed. I stopped leveling my soul mark so I can focus on leveling my Choice of Fate. When I have AB and Maestro in my party, or when I do Jupero's ranking, I always equip both Choice of Fate and Choice Maze, since Choice Maze also gives an additional 20% damage increase, which again is added to your final damage. The only difference with both is if you use Choice of Fate maxed, you can reduce the debuff to 0% if you have 300 luck. But even if you have 250 luck, that's already good. Most DPS class has luck stats since it also gives base physical attack and magical attack. So whatever DPS class you use, get Choice of Fate maxed. Now onto my feathers. We have recently unlocked Feather Breakthrough, so I'm no longer using any light and dark feathers on my attack feathers, including on PPE. For my attack feathers, I use Day, Sky, Space, Time, and Truth. If I had Valor, I would use Valor instead. As I mentioned in the beginning of the video, my friend was all in on Magic class since day 1, so he only has int purple feathers. That's why I just use Truth. For my defense feathers, I use Light, Dark, Divine, Nature, and Justice. You can also use Night Feather if you do not have Nature. I still have 2 statues with Night Feathers, but I'll still be switching them out to Nature Feathers eventually since Nature gives damage reduction versus medium enemies, but Night only gives extra HP. Onto my mount, I use UFO mount because of the 3% global cooldown, luck, and 3% physical attack. The physical attack this gives is so good, so I highly suggest using this for PVE if you do not have anything else better. When I say anything else better, I mean the Bafo booty mounts like Mr. Death, Dracomech, and Kitsune. I have 2 extra UFO mounts, so I'm looking to give this away to anyone watching from Islude 3. Just comment your UID in the comment section below. Make sure you like the video and you are subscribed to my channel so you will be entered in the raffle. Winners will be announced on my next video, but prizes will be sent sooner. My mount traits are a little behind, but make sure you're not only focusing on the Brave stat. Brave, Clever, Lovely, and Charisma are the best stats to get. If you're solely focused on PvE, then Brave stat is good. But if you want to enjoy PvP as well, disregarding Clever, Lovely, and Charisma is not a good idea. Cute is useless, so disregard it. You can use Wild Kiwi and just take if the sum of the stat from Brave, Clever, Lovely, and Charisma is positive. You can use Sunshine Kiwi as well. Now for my mount equip. For Dexterity Barding, I got Windbreaker since it gives 5% melee physical damage and 1.5% physical attack. Trample is good too, but for PvP. For my Sturdy Barding, I use Stalwart since it gives PvE damage. None of the other options give any damage modifiers. For Strength Barding, I use Destiny for more HP. Lastly, for Protector Barding, I use Sharp Edge for the extra damage versus small enemies like Juperos. You can also use damage versus medium or large. It just depends what content you want to deal more damage to. Now for the last part of this video, my pets. Most of my bud's pets are T10, but honestly you don't need this many T10 pets. The one you want to focus in getting to tier 3 or 5 is Genesis, since this gives a lot of physical attack. Even T1 is good, but try to save all your LE pet coupons and get this as high tier as possible. I have T8 Antasha B as well, but I don't even use this anymore because my physical attack is higher than Antasha's, and Antasha only gives 30% of her physical attack to you, while Genesis T5 gives me 40% more physical attack base on your character stats. I tried to awaken my Antasha to the same levels as my awakened Genesis, but Genesis still gave me more damage. Results may vary depending on your physical attack and Antasha's physical attack, but since my physical attack is really high, then I prefer Genesis. I'm still working towards getting it up to T10. I only use Antasha B in Time Space Anomaly now, which is quite a waste. I use Huan Nemesis, and Earthlord as well. Other pets I recommend aside from Genesis is Sohidi 10 for the extra life steal. So also if you have T1 Huan, just use tier 10 Bulldog since this gives you shield as well, which is 20% of your HP and cooldown is faster. For pet potential, I try to get as high VIT as possible since I want them to survive long. For pet equipment, I suggest getting as much HP as possible as well. Use Divine Gift Set for more HP and damage reduction. For shoes and cloak, get HP as the base stat. For the bonus stat, get flat HP and % HP as priority. Both these equipment gives 3 lines of HP, physical attack and magical attack. Take advantage of this. For pet packed on my LE pets, I prioritize Genesis because I want it to survive the longest. Nemesis as my second priority, third would be Huan. These are very expensive to level up, but are very rewarding. Awaken Earthlord as well to make sure it is very tanky. Now onto my max DPS test. That concludes my updated PvE guide for Shadow Chaser. This might be my final Shadow Chaser video since I will be switching to a more PvP-oriented class. Since all the new updates, the meta has changed, and I think Shadow Chasers just went downhill on PvP, and only shines best on PvE now. The new Sigil isn't even for lurker builds, so I'm honestly feeling kinda hopeless on PvP for Shadow Chaser. What are your thoughts on Shadow Chasers for PvP? Tell me your thoughts on the comments below. If you like this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe. Share it to your fellow Shadow Chaser friends too. Thank you for watching. I'll see you on the next one.